Hey, what's up? Welcome to web3 for Basic Bitches.
We're your hosts. I'm Claudia.
And I'm Vanessa. Today's episode, we're going to talk about what the fuck is web3. We're going to learn about the internet, how is it different from the World Wide Web, where it came from, and why we even care about
why should
web3.
it even make you excited at all to watch this? But before that,
Yeah.
we'll do a little check-in.
Okay,
right?
how's our check-in? Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with what makes you a basic bitch.
Today,
Yeah.
what makes me a basic bitch is probably wearing my white socks with my sandals.
I'm also repping.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Also, you should name your sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really see it.
Free Britney.
Hashtag free Britney.
Free Britney.
What makes me basic is I want to do a manifestation board. I really want to. We need to dream it up 2023.
If you don't plan, you plan to fail.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what they say.
You want to get into it?
In your own words, what is Web3?
I hate that you asked me. What is Web3? Web3, when I think about it, is the next generation of the internet. Like next step.
It is the next generation, but it's not necessarily of the internet because the internet and the World Wide Web are actually two different things.
Blows my mind.
Blows my mind.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are different. So the internet is at the bottom. It's the foundation, and the World Wide Web is like on top of the internet because the internet was developed in 1960s.
The 1960s.
Yes.
Okay.
So like as old as our parents.
Right.
But the web wasn't invented until 1989, and the first web browser wasn't until 1993, which was Mosaic.
Okay.
And I was one at that time. So
We'll have a little timeline because I'm picturing it in my head.
yeah, so like 60s is the internet, but the World Wide Web doesn't actually start until early 90s. This is like Web 1 as, you know, you were able to see it.
Okay. So the first time we're using the internet, Web 1, we can only read, right? That's really the extent of what you could do. So
Because without the internet, you can't have the web.
There we go.
Yeah. With Web 1, you have the ability to access these static documents. And
Hold on. Static.
Okay, static.
Every time you say a word that I'm like, then
Okay, that's
see
good.
what happens.
So static just means that you can't change it. Like the opposite of static is dynamic. And dynamic is something that you can be changing.
Okay. Static, you can't change. You're looking at it. You can't interact with it at all.
Other than reading.
Other
You can
than
read it.
reading.
You can't edit anything. It's just
Okay.
read access only. Like have you ever gotten a doc and then you try to edit the doc and it says you don't have edit rights?
Yeah. And you're like, cool.
That's Web
Can you
1.
send me a different email?
Yeah, exactly. Let me just redraft it and resend it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's Web 1.
Okay. So we got Web
All right,
1.
We got Web 1.
What about Web 2?
Web 2, you're able to post things to the web. So this is where like blogging gets really popular. This is where social media
Yeah.
gets really popular. This is Web 2.
Vlogging, blogging, social media, content creation.
Exactly. And
All
this
those
got
things.
super popular in like the early 2000s.
Right. Early 2000s, little teenager, like, let me
And-
put out my own shit.
Right. And keep in mind that like just because Web 2 existed didn't mean that Web 1 died. It's not if Web 3 exists, Web 2 is dead. It's
Right.
just an extension of it.
Okay. We're just evolved. We're growing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So what was the first, I guess, Web 2 with social media? What was like the early social media? What would we see?
So there's like early social
Yeah.
media in like the late 90s. So we've got 6 Degrees. We have this journal diary.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of like journal.com or it was like diary,
Yeah, there's a lot of venting
mydiary.com.
going on in the late 90s apparently. Because it's actually interesting. That was the first use case for it. It was like, even before you're making friends, it was like, let me share my feelings.
Right.
And maybe it'll resonate with someone. It was like you were already trying to like connect with people on a different level that, because like think about it, like you were literally making your diary public. Mm-hmm. Would you ever do that in like IRL?
In IRL, no.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because then I would picture myself like standing on the podium and be like, this is me. You know?
Exactly. So it's actually kind of interesting thinking about that vulnerability that you had
Yeah.
in Web 2 and just putting it out there.
So many people can access that. Another thing with Web 2 is that now, since we're putting out all our information there, when we sign into things, log into things, we give out a lot of our personal information.
But why does that matter, right? Because like we always hear like, I'm not doing anything sketchy, so like why does it matter that my data is out in the public?
Because things aren't generally free in Web 2, right? It's like you like sell out yourself.
Right, like
because your
Gmail.
information, yeah.
Like, how
you're
does,
like,
like,
cool,
who-
it's free, here's my phone number.
Right.
And then you keep getting all these phone calls, spam calls.
So then is like the solution having a pay-per-use type of web?
No. I think the solution is to not have a big conglomerate of, because you have your like main players, right? Now in Web 2, you have Meta, like Google, you have these like big conglomerates that is what we look for when it comes to making things more efficient. But in reality, with us giving them so much information, they can do a lot of things with that the average person like doesn't really give a fuck about.
Well, we're talking about like photo suppression.
Until we're talking about
Photo suppression, the ability to kind of, I don't know, control the data in a way that it can like manipulate us because we don't even have access to view it. What we're kind of asking for then is that like we just want to view the data too. We want access to the data because the data is going to exist regardless, right?
Sure.
Because even when things are on the blockchain, like everybody has access. So it's not necessarily unless you're going through like some sort of like medium, kind of like Tornado Cash, which I don't remember.
Let's not, hold on.
Okay,
we have to get into it. No.
Right. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is like there are ways to be anonymous on blockchain.
There we
but
go.
The default is it's all public, right?
Right.
So everything can be traced back to a person. Meta and Google, they have all of our data, and we don't want that. Well, it's still going to live on a blockchain, but I think the difference is that now we can access it too, and we can build kind of our own applications around it. We don't feel like
Off of it.
they're the only ones that are able to do something with it because they're monetizing off of it.
Yes, so they're monetizing off of it. They're able to, I mean, they're bettering themselves and their technology with it. They have our little consent to it at the bottom, check and make sure you've read our like terms of application and all that.
Right.
Which I don't read.
Yeah. I mean, who does, right? Like we trade conveniency for privacy.
So we've talked about Web 1, talked about Web 2.
Yes. And a little bit of what Web 3 is.
A little bit about what Web 3 is. So let's get into Web 3. What is Web 3?
Web 3 is the new generation of the World Wide Web, building decentralized applications by building them on blockchain. And
Let's break that down.
Yeah.
So decentralized.
Decentralized versus centralized. When we think of the web today and we think about the sites that we're interacting with, think of all your logins, right? Every single time you access a website, you're probably already using your Google, either your Apple, some sort of centralized entity has a CEO behind it. And as we've kind of been able to see, when you have that kind of centralization where there's just like one point of failure.
You have the main player.
Yes.
And then, you got the little like kind of spreads out.
Yeah.
But if this thing fails or breaks,
or they're bribed or anything like that, I mean, you can see how the whole
become
system,
corrupt, manipulated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with decentralization, we're now looking at having these networks just
spread out,
right? Running on different nodes.
So instead of just one head, there are multiple, there are several.
Exactly.
So if one thing fails, you still have the vast majority.
On our next episode, we'll talk about how blockchain works because this is kind of like, it deserves its own episode, but for today's, we're gonna keep it short. Yeah, we're gonna keep it short. That Web3 is the next generation of the World Wide Web, and its mission is to build decentralized applications using blockchain technologies.
Why do I keep hearing all about Web3? Like, I didn't even know Web 2 was a thing until I started hearing about Web 3. And then I was like, wait, how did we get to 3? I thought the web was the web.
Web 3 really matters because it's leveraging these types of technologies that you see really prevalent during the Renaissance. And this is like a new age of just
history lesson.
History lesson. So right now we have this like pretty interesting world where there's just a lot of people working really, really hard, and there's a very small amount of people that hold a lot of the wealth.
Right now, present.
Yes, right now, present. And yes, we live in a wonderful country in the U.S. where you can kind of do your own thing, be whoever you want to be. But the reality is that the world is much larger than the U.S. and in the world don't have those kind of opportunities. And so what's interesting that we see in Web3 is that we have access to this double entry bookkeeping, which is what the blockchain is. It's an online ledger. And what's really like, what's so important about this?
Yeah.
Like, who cares about the double entry bookkeeping,
Exactly.
right?
What does that even mean?
Have you ever taken accounting? No, not
accounting,
history,
economics.
Accounting, different.
No.
Okay, different. So in accounting, there's this basically a principle where your debits should always equal your credits. If they don't, there's something shady going on. Money's missing, and like you need to figure out where the money's going.
Your debits should equal your credit.
Yes. Your debits are going to be your plus on the balance, and then your credits will be the minus. You're taking away. I know we're too young for checkbooks, but this is basically how it worked, right? Like you pay something, it becomes a credit.
We're too young for checkbooks.
We are. We grew up with apps.
I have one, but I honestly don't remember the last time I used it.
I mean, I was 16 when I got my first bank account that I actually managed. And by then, we had online banking, and I'm pretty sure I had an iPhone by then. So I had the app.
You had an iPhone when you were 16?
I grew up in Scottsdale. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
I had a Motorola flip phone.
All right, let's circle it back.
Anyway.
So we're talking about accounting.
Okay.
Principle of accounting. And why this is important is like, if you and I wanted to conduct trade, we need a centralized database. And this centralized database would act as like, it would be like a government or it would be a bank. And now we have the ability to have financial transactions without a bank.
Okay.
Like this is
We're like
crazy.
keeping track of this thing was sold here. Is it all your own things? Like this was sold here, this was sold there. Like I sold this thing and I'm getting.
So I don't really get what the question, but let me try to re-explain what I'm trying to say.
All right.
So in today's world, if I want to make a transaction, like I want to pay for a service, I would have to send you money. But how can I send you money? I have to go either through Zelle, which is through an institutional bank like Chase, or I would have to go through Venmo and just so many middle applications in order for me to get money to you.
Right.
And how long does that normally take for me to send money to you?
If it's Vanguard, fucking 3 business days.
What I'm trying to say is that these financial transactions aren't always instant either. But when you leverage something like the blockchain, when you send ETH to someone, it happens immediately, and you're paying the service fee that you're paying is to the network.
Right.
So
it's direct.
Exactly.
Yes.
One other technology that we saw that really just blew up was this ability to be able to share ideas, and you were able to do that with a printing press.
Yeah.
And so the printing press was huge. It was a game changer.
Right. Because beforehand, the only ones who knew how to read or write were those of people in power.
Yeah, who were noble.
Who
like, you had to be born into this.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, well, if I work really, really hard, I can, like, maybe make it. It was like, nah,
it was like,
have the genes.
okay, I'm going to write all the family secrets into this book that no one can read because it's in Latin.
And it's
then I'm
gonna in one place.
Right.
Where
Put in an
nobody has
archive.
access to.
And even if you think you have access to it, you don't, because you need to go through all these motions of how to get access.
And if you think about it in today's world, if you have this crazy idea, it can actually be blocked, right? Like,
yeah,
it can actually be blocked. And that's dangerous because I know, history is like a pendulum, right? Like we swing from like being super more, open-minded and free-spirited to like,
wow, we're like, oh wait, hold it back, hold it back.
Yeah, we got a little too crazy. We got to like tone it down.
And then we're like, let me go.
Yeah, and right now, I think a lot of us could agree we're on our way back to like having a more restrained environment, and like what you're able to even talk about. And I think that it's just not ever a good idea to have any one person or one entity to be able to like press a button and say, you have been deleted from the world.
Right.
Because that's what it is. If you get like deleted or canceled.
To be banned.
I mean, how do you engage with people, right? Like people's livelihoods are built on social
Well, that's
media.
when other things start popping up.
Like what?
No, I was going to ask you again about the printing press.
Okay.
So, with the printing press,
Yeah.
we know the nobles were the only ones that could read or write. How did the printing press change things?
It changed things because if you wanted to spread an idea or just literature or even a story, you had to do it all through the church. And so it was a centralized institution. And if you weren't doing what the church wanted, they wouldn't print your stuff. What the printing press was able to do was now it gave the ability to anybody who had access to a printing press to print any idea and distribute, you know?
It was more affordable. Yeah, you could distribute your ideas. You find your community. And also, you didn't necessarily need to know how to read, right? Because
'cause
with
you could-
some, that's where they would use images. That's when memes started.
culture was
Yeah,
created
meme culture
during this
started.
time. And it's like the same thing you see today with like the meme cultures that we have today. And I think if you ask anybody, regardless of like what color flag you're going to choose, we can all say we have pretty heavily distrust towards our centralized government. I don't think anybody trusts them, especially like
Right.
Nobody
I mean,
does.
if you look at our last video, you'll see the
Yeah,
trend
the
of
trust
it.
has been going
the
down.
trust has been steadily going down for years.
And so we bring it back to the death of the nation state.
Yeah.
This is what I think it just truly comes down to is like having sovereignty towards your own like freedom, your independence, your just anything. Like we're seeing that like the nation state has all these resources, but they're not making good investments.
Right.
Like I'd rather take those opportunities and invest things in what I think would be a better trade-off.
Yeah, that's fair. Because right now, I mean, depending on what you want to do with what you put out there, it can be limited or you need like certain access. Whereas in Web3, how old is it?
Web3?
Yeah.
I guess Web3, you can say it's built on blockchain technology. Blockchain technology didn't start until 2008, I believe. Yeah, 2008 when Satoshi released the white paper.
Right.
But Bitcoin wasn't traded until 2009.
I know.
So
Should I move over a little bit?
Oh yeah, the sun's getting me a little bit now.
Yeah. Let's circle it back. Why are we comparing Web3 to the printing press, to double entry bookkeeping?
Great
Did I
question.
say it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were
did.
looking at me and I was like,
I was just like, are you done with your
yeah, I
question?
was done with my question.
You were going slow.
No.
Okay, so the way it kind of all circles back is the double entry bookkeeping is like literally the blockchain. The blockchain is this online ledger where you're able to view financial transactions or just any type of transactions and anybody can view it, right? Like as long as you have a connection to the internet, anyone in the world can view it and you can't change it. Think of a Google Drive document. Right? Everybody knows what a Google Drive document is.
I mean, right, yeah.
Most
hopefully.
people do.
You
Okay, quick little TLDR.
Too long to read.
It's a document that you can share with others, and you can specify what kind of, what's the word?
What kind
Permissions. You can, you give them permissions, whether they can view or edit. And this is very important. You want to remember that the permissions is given by a central entity. So blockchain, the ledger is this document,
Yes.
but everybody has permissions to view and edit. Nobody controls whether you can view or edit. That's the default. And that's what makes it so fucking powerful because it's this thing that everybody can contribute to. And like I don't need the permission of my government. I don't need the permission of anybody. I can just participate in it. And the entire world can connect with this.
Right.
Like language isn't a barrier here. Like, so this is the double entry bookkeeping, right?
Okay.
So it's a place where multiple parties can view this data and can also post to this data.
They can view the data and there are validators too, right? They can also validate
Yeah, and the validators are nodes, depending if it's like proof of work, proof of stake.
Right, which we'll get into. You hear
Next
those
episode.
words, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Let it come in, go out, you know?
yeah.
We're just dipping our toes in there. Okay, so we have,
Double entry bookkeeping.
right,
And so how is Web3 related to the printing press?
yes.
It's because nobody can shut it down. So the printing press, you could distribute ideas without the church saying, we don't like your idea, we're going to shut it down, we're just not going to let it even be a thing. Everything can be a thing when you're using blockchain technologies, because you're now posting, you're now saving this data onto things like Arweave, things
Yeah.
like Filecoin, peer-to-peer networks, something where there's no one entity. Like if Mark Zuckerberg wanted to shut you down, like he could shut down Facebook. If Google wanted to shut you down, like think about everything you would lose. If Apple and Google were like, fuck you, we don't like what you have to say.
Yeah, they're like,
Your pictures are gone. All your
chaos.
content's gone.
Yep.
All your accounts are gone, because all your accounts log in with your Google, your Facebook.
literally everything
is
is
tied
connected to my
together.
Google.
Yeah. So if it's down, like you're fucked. And so they've taken you out, right? And with blockchain technologies, if you use something like ENS, like Ethereum Name Service, no one, even if, oh my God, even if Vitalik hates you, he can't
Who's
shut
Vitalik?
you down.
Hold on.
Vitalik is one of the founders of Ethereum, and he's basically our, I don't want to call him president or
Some
God.
people call him daddy.
Yeah, he's called daddy pretty
That's very
often.
cringy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit cringe. But if you meet him, if you get to know him, if you get to see him even like talk, you'll get why he's earned the daddy name. But
Yeah.
but basically, he's our dude that we look to, and we're like, we trust what you're doing, and we trust that you're gonna make the best thing for the most amount of people. Like, we trust Vitalik.
Yeah.
But always verify. Don't just trust.
Always verify.
Vitalik can't shut you down because it's ran on a decentralized network.
Should we just close it down?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Or do you want to talk about
let's just recap.
ChatGPT really quick?
ChatGPT. Okay, so I think we just have to give this to our followers, our listeners,
Yeah.
because
Here's the scoop.
we've learned over the past couple of days that a lot of you all are not in the know with ChatGPT.
Yes.
And let me name a couple of ways ChatGPT has changed my life that are non-technical.
So, but I think what we should first start with is
What is it?
what is it? I guess I kind of want to go with, you've been seeing like AI
Lensa, like
lens,
all
like
picture
8
to a
profile
fucking-
pictures that
Yeah, let's be
AI
real.
has altered that looks like you.
Yeah, if you've done it, you've done AI.
Because I feel like that blew the fuck up.
Right, for the basic
And
people.
everyone was, posting about
Yeah.
it.
Instagram was like, oh my God, Lensa, look at me. And then Twitter was like, oh my God, ChatGPT, look, it can code.
Right, which is like the next fucking step is ChatGPT.
Yeah. So ChatGPT, what it is, it's basically just a really fucking smart chat box.
It's like Google on steroids. Is literally what I was gonna say. It's literally Google on steroids. So if you are someone where you're like, wait, how do you do this? What do you do that? How do I explain this? You can go to chat.openai.com.
And you can log in through a centralized way, like I did. Through
My Google.
Google
You can
questions.
ask it questions like, let me see if I have one that's a little
I can talk a little bit of mine, like really quick. I thought
Okay.
mine were super cool. So for New Year's, I'm thinking, oh my God, like what kind of fun for New Year's Eve? I wanted to make a really fun cocktail and I didn't know like what to make. So I just asked ChatGPT, like hosting a New Year's Eve party, can you make a fun cocktail batch ingredient recipe?
Yeah. And did you say something like fruity? Do you have it
Yeah.
there?
So it first came up, oh, dinner, let's see, ending.
Because now it saves what you ask.
I know, but I'm just like wondering which one it was.
Well, I have one. I have one that says write a Twitter thread
Oh,
that
tell me about
is
that.
engaging and witty. And I was like, make it about fiat monetary policy, fractional reserve lending, and cryptocurrency.
That's hilarious. Have you posted it
So
yet?
I haven't posted it yet, but you will see it soon.
Okay, so mine, I asked, what's a fun batched New Year's Eve cocktail? And it came up with this sparkling punch, but I wasn't feeling fruity. So I go, what are 2 other less fruity options? And it says, sure, here are 2 additional back cocktail Here are 2 additional batch cocktail ideas that are less fruity. A classic martini, and number 2, a bourbon sour. Which is the
Let
one
me
we
tell
settled
you,
with?
it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, and then later I was like asking it how to make a papa a la huancaína for 14 people, and it gives you the portions for 14 people.
Yeah, I even said write an engaging. I even list some funny memes regarding fiat and cryptocurrency and monetary policy. It says, quote, when the government says they're not printing more money, but the bank is secretly doing it through fractional reserve lending.
Ooh, that's a hot.
T.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Oh, and you can, all right, so here are for the ones that like you want to apply for a new job but don't really know what to say or do. Well, ChatGPT can help. If you put in your resume, you'll copy paste your resume into the like little
Do you
text
just
box.
tell it like, this is my resume?
You say, okay, here's my resume, and then you have your resume there, copy pasted right in here, right? And then underneath you can type something along the lines of like, this is the company that I'm applying for, and copy paste the entire description for the job.
Wait. Maybe I'm jumping stones here, but are you telling me that I might never have to write a cover letter again?
Yes. You might not have to wear a cover letter or you might not have to write a cover letter ever again or a resume. You can have templates.
You can make playlists. If you let ChatGPT know, you can give it 3 examples, 5 examples. We were trying to come up with LLC names.
Didn't your coworker write a book with ChatGPT?
Yes. So it didn't write the book. So it actually wasn't ChatGPT.
Okay, just kidding.
It was Dolly.
Cancel. We're not talking about that.
Well, it's another
Okay,
type
well,
of AI, very similar.
Is
made
Dolly
by
also?
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made by the same people.
With the same people, OpenAI.
Yeah, OpenAI. But Dolly is an imaging AI generator.
Yes.
So he pasted all of the text to his book, and then it generated some really cool art that looked like very childish. Well, like children, not child.
Yes, and it's free right now.
Exactly.
I
How much?
honestly
Okay.
cannot believe that you don't have to pay for this.
It's because it's in like because it's learning everything. But I want to know, how much would you pay for it?
Honestly, okay, are we talking monthly or like yearly subscription?
I mean, they have the both options, but let's say you're going to do a monthly. For unlimited questions?
For unlimited questions, I don't know.
I was thinking I would give it like $300.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because
like-
I was like, what I'm thinking is too ridiculous. Wait, a month? $300 a month?
A month.
Yeah.
Because like the reality is that it
Which
can...
honestly is like how Jasper AI or those other copywriting platforms. I want
Really?
to say that's how much they are.
A month? I don't know. I haven't heard of Jasper. What's Jasper?
Jasper is
Did
like,
this just become an AI podcast?
it's like a copywriting thing for, it's like this, but you can't do as much as you can with ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT, like it literally made a grid box for me in 30 seconds.
And coded things for you.
Yeah, it coded a grid box for me. Like, I'm sorry, for all the programmers out there who like don't want to center a div, who are like Flexbox or grid, ChatGPT will write it out for you. It'll help you out with documentation. It'll write MD files for you. It'll do so much.
Yeah. If you need a time frame of how to do things or what to do, or your client needs something that's a time frame
plan.
or a plan, like it will break things down for you.
It wrote a marathon training plan for me. I let it know how many miles I run, what I'm comfortable with running, and concurrently a strength training plan. Okay, we've got our... Wait,
Okay, shout out to
Ivan.
Ivan.
recap. What is Web3, Claudia?
Recap. What is Web3? Web3 is the next generation of the World Wide Web.
Fuck yeah. What's the World Wide Web?
The World Wide Web is built on top of the internet. Yeah?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. What is it about Web3 that gives us these Renaissance vibes?
For me, it's bringing the power back to the people. That there are...
By
we're able-
decentralization.
Exactly. By decentralization, we can give more information out. We can be the owners to the information that we provide. And that whatever is on the blockchain is validated and open.
Because it's permissionless.
Yes.
Anybody can view the blockchain. Anybody can post to it. Nobody can regulate.
And
That's
with
where we're
that,
gonna end it.
yeah, let's close it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to Web3 for Basic Bitches. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, on TikTok,
Yes.
on Lens. It's
Yes.
the same. It's
On
the
Lens.
same name on all. It's
Yep.
Web3 for Basic Bees.
Yes.
BS, because we can't say
BS.
bitches.
We can't say
on a handle
bitches.
because some people don't like it.
Yeah.
Some central entities don't let us use profanity.
My
Wow.
mother.
Well, I
She
meant
doesn't
like
like that I keep saying bitches, but
it's part of the name.
that's